It's time to knit the neckband of this sweater. When I knit the front, I finished off the neckline with 100 stitches and the back with 60 stitches. So for the neckband, we need a total of 160 stitches. That's 80 needles to the right and 80 needles to the left of my center point. I'm going to knit a ribbed neckband. So I've connected my ribber to my main bed. And now I'm going to select my needles in a 1x1 needle arrangement. Here's what my needle arrangement looks like close up. And now to align all these needles to B position, I'm just going to knit across my bed with no yarn in my carriages. If you notice some of my needles didn't go back to B, that's because I haven't set my holding cam on the ribber properly to not hold. So that's one good thing about knitting across with your empty carriage. Before you begin to knit with yarn, it helps you double check that all your settings are in the right place. I'm going to knit my rib tension 4. I want a tighter rib on the neckband than I had on the sleeves that I did with this thinner yarn that I'm using. In fact, I think I'm going to go on down and knit at tension 3. Now I'm going to take my yarn and thread it through my yarn feeder and pull that between my beds and put a clip on that and feed it into my carriage. I want about 2 inches, 1.5 to 2 inches of rib. I'm going to settle for 1.5. And I want this band to be folded. I'm just going to go across 30 times. So I'm resetting my row counter to 0. That helps me keep track of where I am in my knitting in case I get distracted. So this is 1, and then I'm going to put my comb on. How it looks with my comb in and my wire through. And the next step is to put some weights on my comb. And I'm ready to knit. So I'm just going to continue until my row counter reaches 30. I'm at row 30 and it's time to transfer all my stitches from my ribber to the main bed. Taking my ribber off, take my weights off, take this comb off. I put my wire back through my comb as soon as I take my comb off. That prevents my wire from getting bent out of shape, because then it's really difficult to get it back into the comb when I need it for my work. Now it's time to fold this. I'm going to use my transfer tool and pick up the edge of my band. I've picked up all of the edge, but I haven't closed it. At this point, I've got 3 options. Option 1, I could knit across one row with my black yarn to close this edge. But what that's going to do is, on this side of my work facing me, I'm going to have a purl row. The knit side is the side away from me. So when I pick up my body panel onto my neckband, I'm going to have that slight purl row. And this edge that I picked up has tiny bumps. It's going to give it a distinct look, which I like. That's the least effort neckband pick up and knit for me. Option 2 I could knit one row across and then knit it off on waste yarn, this neckband, take it off the bed and then flip it and pick it back up so that the knit row then faces towards me, and then put my body onto my neckband. That's option 2. Okay. Then the third option, I think I kind of forgot what the third option was. Okay, yeah, the third option is I wouldn't even knit one row across this at all. First, I would just take my panel, my front and back pieces, and pick up my neckline onto my neckband, onto the needles here, without knitting one row across to close up my neckband, and then knit one row across and bind up everything. That's the fastest one. It's very close to the first option I gave. The difference is with the first option, you would have securely closed up your neckband, and then you can go ahead and join the body to the neckband. So I'm going to do option 3, which is I'm not going to close it up. I'm just going to pick up my body onto my neckband. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my body with the right side of my fabric towards my neckband. Now remember, the front, it has 100 stitches that I'm going to pick up, and the back has 60, and there are 2 ways to go about putting your panel onto your neckband. If I start from this edge here and pick up the 100 stitches for my front, and then proceed to pick up the 60 stitches for the back on the rest of my needles, what's going to happen is when I go to close this seam on my neckband, that seam is going to be on the shoulder edge of my neckline. So some people don't like that. When I've created sweaters for customers, there are customers who will distinctly say they don't want the seam at the side on the shoulder. They would prefer the seam to be in the center of the back neckline. Okay, so if you are someone who wants the seam on the back neckline, then instead of picking up your front panel from the very edge of your neckband across and then picking up the back neckline, what you would do is you would put the front neckband in the center. So for the 100 stitches we have for the front, I would pick up from needle number 50 to needle number 50. I would pick my neckline edge here onto these needles. And then I would pick up half of my back neckline on these stitches and pick up the other half of my back neckline on my remaining stitches over here. If you want to see how I did that, you can take a look at the V-neck sweater joining the neckband to the sweater. I used this technique for joining the neckband to the sweater body. And I'm going to leave a link so that you can check out how I did that. But for this sweater, I'm going to pick it up so that the seam is at the shoulder edge. I've got my front piece picked up onto my needle, starting from 20 on the left to 80 on the right. And the next step now is to take my waste yarn off. And then I'm going to inspect my work to make sure I haven't dropped any stitches and I don't have any holes in my fabric, because I don't want a hole in my neckline. Okay, and I'm going to push all these needles forward to secure these stitches. And now I'm ready to put my back neckline on to my stitches. I'm going to do it the exact same way I did for the front. Okay, I'm going to start from this edge here. Okay, because I want the front of my fabric, that's the good side, right? The public side, not the inside. I want the public side towards my neckband. So what that means is I'm going to put it towards my neckband like this, okay? Not like this. That would be a very big mistake. So I'm going to start from this edge and pick up onto my needles like I did for the front. I've got the back also picked up on my bed, and I'm going to take my waist yarn off. I'm just inspect, make sure I have no gaps in my neckline. Now the next step is to knit one row across. I'm going to increase my tension to 8 because I don't want this join to be tight. Now that we've done that, I'm going to bind off my stitches as usual. After we join the shoulders, the next step is to join the sleeve to the body. I've done this one already, and I'm going to show you how. First thing I do is I pin the sleeve to the body. So I lay the body out flat like this with the right side facing me, and then I take my sleeve, fold it in half with the right side out. Okay, and then I take the center top, flip my sleeve over my body like this, and pin this to my shoulder seam. I use my long needles for this, but you can use anything that holds the fabric together. And then I'm going to take this end and pin it to this end here. And take this end, the armpit, and pin it to this side here. And you can also pin along the edge, both edges, but I usually don't. I just use my hands and smooth the fabric as I sew. Speaking of sewing, let me show you my settings for sewing. I sew up my work with my Brother embroidery and sewing machine, and I use the zigzag stitch and set the stitch width to 7 and the length to 4. That's basically it. And now that I've pinned up my fabric, I'm going to put that under my foot here. And so I sew on the slowest speed. This is a jersey ballpoint needle. Looks like this to sew up my fabric. That's my sleeve joined to the body. Next step is to join under the sleeve and down the body, and that's what I'm going to do now. I stopped just before my rib band because I'm going to close this section by hand. And that's one side sewn up. So I'm going to do the same for the second side and then show you guys the finished results. The last stage is to close up all the rib bands, neckband, the sleeve, the bottom hem, and I use my crochet hook. It's a 2.5 millimeter crochet hook. I don't know if you guys can see that. And then I take a tail that's long enough, or I take a tail from my ball of yarn. The way I do it is I crochet through corresponding stitches on both edges that I'm trying to close. And so my rib is folded. I do one layer at a time and go around the fold to close it up. I'm going to speed up the actual work I'm doing here. and show you what it looks like when I close it this way. You almost can't tell that there's a seam there once I'm done. I'm done closing up this neckband, and you can see how the seam looks. Apart from the shoulder seam ending there, it's almost like nothing happened at that point. Let me show you what the sleeves look like. So depending on how careful you are, you can sew up your ribbons and make it the seam almost invisible. Here's a final look of the sweater. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video.
Generate by AI.